Doing. Just gonna wait for some people to tune in. I told you guys I was gonna come on live today. Um, Let me have my little note chart for what I want to talk about today. Good morning, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Good morning, Elle. Good morning, Babe Ruthie. Pretty Petite, good morning. Um, Let me save my contact on here. Um, Please, sorry guys, I can't multitask, so I'm just trying to type my phone number in here. So that those of you who want to schedule a consult can call, and then I'll pin it, and then we'll get into today. Today's a good day, good topic, and I think it will help a lot of people get some clarifications. Um, of some of the questions, I get asked. All right, guys, hold on. Let me just type this in. But say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Oh gosh, my nail is like stopping me from typing this. My daughters tell me all the time, why do I get this nails? But I love them. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my phone number. Let me pin it. It's pinned. So my phone number is there. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for tuning in. Melissa says, love you, Aisha, you're the best. Thank you so much. And hi, Keisha. Good morning. Good morning, Ajax from New York City. Let's see who else is here. Riz from Daytona Beach, Florida. Good morning. Um, Good morning. I know some of you are going to have some questions today. You can type your questions. I'm going to, talk about the topic I want to talk about. And then if I still have time, I will try to answer as many questions as I can. Today, I want to, I guess, let me first introduce myself because I know there's some first timers here. If you're just tuning in for the first time, my name is Aisha Chidoe. I'm an immigration attorney. I represent clients all over the United States, all 50 states, with their immigration matters. Your location is not a problem. Definitely save this live and share this live so others can get tuned in and get this information as well. If you want to schedule a consultation, call 407-995-6567. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp. It's 404-333-8751. We don't usually take calls on that number, but you can send a WhatsApp. So today I want to talk about signs of abuse in a Vawa case, or if you want to know if there's a possibility that you may qualify for VAWA. So first, let's talk about what is VAWA. VAWA is a law. It's an act. It's a law here in the United States that allows both men and women to apply for a green card if they're able to show that their spouse has been extremely cruel or abusive to them. The idea is that there are a lot of laws that benefit U.S. citizens, or green card holders, but also when you're an immigrant, sometimes people are very predatory towards you, and people treat you badly, all for the sake of they're marrying you and you're an immigrant, and they can threaten you and tell you that you need them, they don't need you, and stuff like that. So typically, when people think about abuse or extreme cruelty, they think about physical things like physical. Tyler says, what I realize, you always get mistaken for a marriage attorney. What do you mean, a marriage attorney? Like a marriage-based green card? Is that what you mean? We do marriage-based green cards as well. Okay, so let's talk about physical abuse first of all. So with physical abuse, of course, there are the common things like, pulling of the hair, punches, slaps, kicks, bites, scratches, pushes. A lot of times, culturally, depending on where you're from, or if you've been or you've grown up in an abusive household, There are certain things that you no longer consider abuse. Like oftentimes I would have somebody say, I mean, he or she, before, the guys come for me, they'll say, oh, well, I mean, my spouse has never done anything physical to me. However, they've pushed me, or ripped my shirt before, or spat at me before, or they've thrown a bottle at me, like a plastic bottle at me before, and stuff like that. And I have to explain to people that that's physical form of physical abuse. Physical abuse is not just a punch or someone threatening you with a weapon, or slapping you into your black and blue. Sometimes physical abuse does not manifest itself in a physical appearance on your body. Sometimes, you can have a spouse that moves you, a spouse that controls, like maybe like the financials, and you don't have any family, um, and they move you to a remote location, and you're living in a remote location where you don't have access to any necessities. And a lot of things I'm telling you guys about today are things that we've seen personally here with some of our clients, and what they deal with and have had successes in this case, where they move you in the middle of nowhere. If you're screaming for help, you'll be screaming till thy kingdom come, if you know what that phrase means, because there's nobody coming for you. And so that way they can do whatever it is they want to do. You have no access because you rely on that spouse for transportation, for financials, to be able to eat, to be able to provide for yourself, to be able to provide clothing for yourself and shelter for yourself. Sometimes spouses will abandon their families, their spouse, their other spouse. And again, I'm focused on physical. The time is not enough today for me to go through all of them. So I'm gonna just try and take these in little bite sizes over the next few days to talk about like different abuses. So what I'll do is I'll talk about them for maybe like about 20 minutes and then try to take some questions. And then tomorrow we'll continue. Another example is like a spouse can abandon their children and family as a sign of punishment. So like leave the house. You don't know where they are. You don't, you don't know how to leave the house to go get food, order food, because they don't. We've even had it where it's as bad as the person cut off the internet and cut off the electric. So the child and the children and the spouse were freezing in the house with no way to heat themselves, and no internet for the kids to do the job, because of power and control. That is a form of physical abuse. So as you can see where I'm going with this, that sometimes physical does not physically like manifest itself, like in your face, I'm slapping you, or whatever it is. Other times, a spouse can physically hurt you, and they will not allow you to call 911 for your safety, or they will guilt trip you or manipulate you into saying, if you call 911, this is what's going to happen to me. And if this is what's going to happen to me, you're going to lose the kids. They're going to take the kids away from you. So that's also another example of, physical abuse. Or sometimes they put you in harm's way. You guys are arguing, screaming on top of your head. They drop you in the middle of the road, tell you to get out of the car at nighttime or whatever time of the day, where they know you're on a highway or you can't get home. You don't have money to get home, so you have to walk. Again, the things that I'm telling you are things that our clients have experienced, where they've walked miles. We had a client, if you know anything about Florida, let me give you an example. If you lived in Orlando, like we've had someone that walked from Ocala, Florida to Windermere, Florida. So for those of you who know Florida, you can probably figure out the transportation and the distance, hours and hours, and stopped looking for. You have to understand, it's not easy to be in that situation and go knock on someone's door, because you don't know if you're going to get shot or killed. So you're walking for hours or days, like and as a homeless person trying to get home, to more harm. So that's another example where it's a physical form of abuse because you're in danger, and it's like reckless endangerment, but you cannot see it physically manifest on you. um Sometimes you have a spouse who's very aggressive, you're fighting in the car, they start driving aggressively, like they want to but because they're in control of the steering wheel, they can they want to basically cause an accident or fear you into submission and obedience by driving fast and showing you that if they want to run this car off the road or kill y'all both, they can do that. So again, these are some forms of physical abuse that most people would not normally think about, and these are signs that if any of those things from a physical aspect is happening to you, that you possibly may qualify for VAWA if your spouse is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and you don't have your green card. Okay. Two other things that I want to talk about in that area is also, um, you know, like if they make you do things that are illegal against your will, they make you take drugs, they make you go buy drugs, they make you go buy weed or whatever for them, so that you're the one that gets in trouble and not them. Those are all signs of endangerment and physical abuse, um, and things like that. And then, of course, we move over to things like emotional abuse. Emotional abuse, you want to think about things like gaslighting and manipulating and love bumming. I know a lot of people have been like, well, what is love bumming? So Kiara says, oh my God, my heart breaks for those people. Thank you, God, for Vawa. Keep up the great work, attorney. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, sometimes some people comment and say, um, what about we that were U.S. citizens, and people just marry us, that just send all of them back home, like they're just doing this to get their green cards. But what people don't understand is that people are truly suffering. People are truly suffering because they don't have their papers, they don't know what they qualify for, and nobody has ever educated them or told them. And by some sheer luck or some sheer chance, they learn about what they're eligible for, whether it's through me, whether it's through any other attorney that's educating people on this. But those people deserve to come out of those abusive marriages. Those people deserve to have a green card. Those people deserve that for what they go through. So, so yes, I will continue to serve that population for as long as I am able to. Like I will make no apologies for helping victims, of domestic violence and abuse, and one thing some people also comment is, like, well, why do they stay in a relationship? Well, why don't they see the signs? Well, if you guys know anything, and you can speak with a psychologist or check research and stuff like that, like abuse has no face, race, color, or social economic status. It doesn't matter. That's why you have Ike Tina Turner, using that as a common example. Ike was abusive to Tina for no reason, just because she was annoying, slapping her, beating her up in a restaurant. God rest her soul. She was one of the most popular musicians, right? Somebody would look at her and say, she has everything, yet she was abused, right? And she was right there in the limelight. And I bet you so many other people that you probably even know that on the surface, they appear very strong, but it takes a lot, for people to leave abusive marriages, because it's called the cycle of abuse. And sometimes, again, it's cultural, where if your mother was abused, if your father was abused, you're like, well, mine is not that bad, like it could be worse. Or spouse apologized to me, they're not going to do it again, and then they do it again. So so I truly try, not to have judgment of people who come to me, and the telltale signs or the warning signs were there from the beginning, because you don't know what burden people are carrying. You don't know why people feel that they need to be loved or wanted or to be in a relationship. You don't know what their journey is. And, any of my clients will tell you, like, when we present cases for them for file, we want to know your entire life history and your journey, because a lot of times, and oftentimes, you can connect the two. You can connect why, you know, what the person experiencing and why sometimes they say, I can't tell you how many psychological evaluations I've read. I always say, like, if I wasn't a lawyer, I'll be a therapist, because, I usually am on the money in my analysis when the therapist sends their stuff, because you're able to connect the two. Um, Nanny says power and control than the honeymoon phase. Exactly. Exactly. So to talk about emotional abuse, and then once I do that, I'll answer questions and we'll talk about more tomorrow. To talk about emotional abuse, you think about manipulations. They try to play mind games. They try to play mind games with you. They put you down. They make you feel guilty to get what you want. After all, I'm marrying you. I'm a U.S. citizen. I can get you your green card. What can you do for me? People do that. After all, I could have any guy, I want. After all, I could have any girl I want. After all, I could have some immigrants that are willing to pay me. So, yes, I don't want to work. You should be paying for my bills. Why should I work when I'm married to an immigrant? You pay for the bills. You know, if you tell me something back, I will call immigration on you. I will call ICE on you. You will never find another woman better than me. You'll never find another man better than me. You know, present, previous relationships. You have some couples, and again, a lot of what I'm telling you guys, this is real of what we hear and see. Sometimes some people will say, look, like they will show you pictures of them having intercourse and intimacy with somebody else that's not you, and say, well, what are you going to do? This person is better than you. This person is better than you in bed. This person has a bigger this than you. Like, do you know how much of an emotional damage that can be to somebody? So again, it's not a physical form, but it is extremely emotionally abusive. You have a person saying, why do you put on makeup? Some of y'all emotionally abuse me on this platform. I can't tell you how many times I get a comment of someone saying, well, why do you have on makeup? Why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Why do you have blush here? And I'm like, why do you care? Like, I'm not married to you. You're not my mother or father. Like, why do you care about my makeup? But again, if you're in a marriage and that is happening, those are signs of emotional abuse. Because it makes you second guess yourself. It makes you question yourself. It makes you question who you are and how you appear to your spouse. Sometimes spouses will cheat on you to prove a point, to show you that they can find it, or they will withhold affection from you as a way to punish you. So these are signs of emotional abuse. So I'm going to take some questions. And then what I'm going to do is tomorrow, like I told you guys, I'm going to be live again tomorrow at, let me just make sure I can come on at 10. Yeah, I'm going to be live tomorrow at 10 so that I can get into some other signs of abuse, and, to show that you may or not qualify for that. So let me go through and take some questions. Someone says, I received I-797C. Is that good? Adamu, it depends on what your I-797C is. I-79C just means that you received a letter from USCIS. That's just the name of every letter that you receive from USCIS. It just comes in that paper. So what you should actually be looking for in the letter is, what form are they talking about? What are they saying that you received? So, without knowing that, I can't answer you, because all it's just saying is that you received a letter. It doesn't tell us what it is. Okay. I have a friend, his first marriage was tagged fraud by immigration. He got married again and put in his immigration application, but immigration sent a letter saying he can't get any immigration benefits. I'm not sure what you mean they sent a letter saying he can't get immigration benefits. Are you saying that he was denied? Well, one thing that you should know is that if immigration adjudicates and says that your first marriage was fraud, you cannot overcome that by going to marry somebody else. And I talk about this all the time. You don't just jump to the next spouse. Okay, they didn't work out with the spouse, I'm jumping to the next spouse. When you have an application that you put forward with immigration and they believe that marriage to be fraudulent. The onus or the responsibility on you is to prove that that marriage is not fraudulent, because what's going to happen is that it's going to affect you from getting through to any other spouse or green card, unless you can prove that that first one was not fraud. So typically, when you have that fraud adjudication where they basically say we believe this man, you need to appeal that if you believe that your marriage is not fraud, and prove that your marriage is not fraud. Or if, let's say, your spouse maybe sabotages you and is abusive, and you're submitting a ballot application, you use that opportunity to prove that this person is trying to create that as a form of that abuse, to control me. But you have to prove that you don't, the solution is not to just jump to the next spouse. Because with each spouse, you have to prove that the previous one was real. They're not going to forget about that. Okay. Manon says, can we stay in the US while we're doing administrative procedures for the green card? The answer is really going to depend on who's filing for you. Are they a green card holder, or are they a US citizen? How old are you? What are they filing for you? Is it based on marriage, child? So all of that, will really depend. Okay. And then it says, I'm a therapist, therefore I know. There you go. And for those of you who need therapy, contact Nenny MSW. There you go. Can someone become a U.S. citizen after getting their cancellation approved? There's so many variables. We need to know what exactly you have first. Before you become a U.S. citizen, you have to be a green card holder first. Somebody says, how do I prove all of this? That is a great question. A lot of times, physical, other than physical abuse that is physical on the surface, it's really difficult to show. So some of the things that we've seen success with our clients is very strong testimonials that are very, very sincere and authentic. Like a strong declaration, or if you would, a personal statement, really explaining what has happened in your marriage and in your life in general. Because like I said, I think a lot of times bringing your life and connecting in what the abuse has happened really make for a strong case. Also getting a psychological evaluation in those cases help. If there have ever been instances where the police have been called or a police report was filed, submitting a police report. If you've ever had friends, neighbors, employers witness some of this behavior, an affidavit helps. We've had some times where a spouse is so abusive, like they're showing up to the person's job every day, calling their boss, telling them, fire him, he doesn't have his paper. If you don't fire him, I'm going to call the cops on you because you shouldn't be taking them. So even the bosses are getting abused. So, in those cases, you can also, submit those as evidence, but just, the evidence is basically any credible evidence, credible being the word. Like USCIS has to see the evidence as credible when they do their investigation, that it's more likely than not that this person is telling the truth. Sometimes, spouses bully you from a technology standpoint, where they post stuff about you or threaten to post stuff about you, or send you text messages of what they're going to post about you. If they send those, save them. And maybe that's just because I'm a lawyer. So in my mind, every time, like, I don't delete things basically, just because I guess I'm legally trained as a lawyer to always gather evidence, because I never, most of us that choose to be lawyers are always on advocacy mode, always on, I am going to defend myself with the evidence I have. I am going to defend my clients with the evidence I have. So it's never a good idea to delete all those things. Sometimes some people are in abusive relationships and they're so angry with that person, they delete every trace of that person. Never a good idea if you don't have your immigration paperwork. I understand the emotional standpoint, but that is a reaction before thought, So those are some things that you can do to gather it. Kivia says, you're so great. Thank you so much. My husband is a green card holder, but he wants to go for a citizenship, but he has a domestic violence case that was dropped because the person was lying on him. Can he still file for citizenship? If the case was dropped and you're able to provide certified court disposition saying that he was found, the case was dropped, he was in charge of that, and it's his only offense, depending also when it was, he can certainly try to apply for citizenship, and hopefully he has an officer that will be kind enough to approve him. My husband withdrew my green card after I got my work permit, but I'm also a Vawa recipient. Can I go back to it since I had it renewed for a few months before I got a work permit from him? Now we are divorced as of August. Brown, you definitely want to call us to screen you for Vawa. This is what we're talking about. And this is an abuse of the legal system, which we'll get into in our series. I will be curious to screen you for other things because, like I mentioned, again, there's signs of things that lead us to believe that there's some abuse going on in a marriage. Because if you are married to somebody that loves you, think about it, guys. Just think about it. If you are married to somebody that loves you, and even if you have a quarrel, even if you have a fight, most people who are not abusive are not going to cut the source of your livelihood, because withdrawing your green card is cutting the source of your livelihood, because it means they're cutting your work permit and they're cutting your ability to stay in the US. If you have family here, they're cutting the relationship with that, because every withdrawal means a likelihood that you could get deported. So you want to think about it that way. You can fight with somebody and choose not to talk to the person today or tomorrow. But when you start cutting things that affect them in their life, there are some signs of abuse going on there. Okay, guys, I got to jump off. I have a meeting, but tune back in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Tomorrow is Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Save this live or subscribe to my channel on YouTube so that you can be notified. I think on Instagram and Facebook, you can hit the notification button so that you can do it. But tomorrow, we'll tackle some more types of abuse and signs that you might be eligible for VAB. All right, guys, I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.